Ainara, and I love digging into a good book. So let's read, learn, and grow together, one diverse character at a time. Welcome to Ainara's Bookshelf. You know, I'm feeling kind of sentimental today, so let's check out an old favorite. This is New Kid by Jerry Craft. It's a super funny and relatable graphic novel that holds a special place in my heart. It's about a 12-year-old black boy named Jordan Banks. He's a young artist and loves to draw. He lives in Washington Heights, a very diverse community where most of his neighbors and friends are black like him. Jordan is starting 7th grade, and instead of sending him to the art school of his dreams, his parents enroll him in an esteemed private school known for its academics, where Jordan turns out to be one of the few kids of color in his whole school. As Jordan experiences going back and forth between two very different communities, he's not sure which one he fits into, or if he fits into any at all. All he really wants to do is fit in, but for him, it turns out to be extremely hard. If you've ever been the new kid at school, or summer camp, or even an extracurricular like dance or gymnastics, you'll be able to connect with and understand Jordan's feelings. I got this book when I was around 9, and it's been one of my favorite graphic novels for a long time. And out of all the books I've read, one I've related to the most. Around the first time I read this book, I just moved schools for the first time, and it was very hard for me. And not only because I had to leave all my friends behind. My new school had a mostly white population, and I was the only black kid in my class. Coming from a school with lots of diversity and different cultures, that was a shock for me. I could really see my experiences and struggle in Jordan's life, and I think my 9-year-old self made a strong bond with Jordan. This book is probably one of the funniest graphic novels you will ever read in school. At the same time, you'll learn a lot about microaggressions, race, and other ways to cope or help any new kid you might meet along the way. This book is really an awesome one, and it has the awards to prove it. It has won the Coretta Scott King Award and was the first graphic novel ever to be awarded the Newbery Medal. So whether you're the new kid or want to connect with the new kid or just like good stories, definitely check it out. I'd recommend it for ages 8 and up. The author and illustrator behind this award-winning book is Mr. Jerry Craft, and he's also a New York Times best-selling author. He was born in Harlem and grew up in the Washington Heights section of New York, just like Jordan. He's pretty cool, and now he lives in Connecticut too. You know, I'm kind of curious what it's like in Connecticut. Want to come with? Well, hi, Mr. Craft.
Well, hi. Hi, Ainara.
Thank you so much for joining me here today.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So I guess here we are in what I imagine the Riverdale community and also the Riverdale campus to look like. I mean, this huge house and all these trees.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things is when I was doing New Kid is I was trying to do like the fish out of water that I was. So I grew up in Washington Heights, which is right next to Harlem. And then have my mom and dad send me to a school that was like in the woods. Like it looked like the campus of Harvard or something. Mm-hmm. And I just remember them like, there are trees and squirrels and how is, because most of my schools were like this big, 25 kids in my 7th grade class, 25 kids in my 8th grade class. And I go to Fieldston, Riverdale, and there's 110 kids in my 9th grade class. Like only 10 of us were African American.
Yeah.
5 of those kids had been there their whole lives. So we had nothing in common. So that's where I got the character Maury from.
Yeah.
Where it's like everyone thinks, oh yeah, Jordan and Maury are gonna be best friends. So like, we have nothing in common.
Yeah.
And so there's no one way to be anything. And that's why one of the big things I wanted to do in New Kid.
Yeah, and I really see that, and that's very interesting. I mean, I can also sort of relate to Jordan in that way, because when I moved schools, I was also one of the few black kids in my grade and also in my class, and one of the only black girls in my whole school.
Like I was small for my age, like I felt like I was 3'5", 12 years old, light skinned with straight hair, and all my friends around my block were 5'3", dark skinned with cool curly afros, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't look like any of them. Mm-hmm. I thought it would be a really good thing to show the difference between Jordan and Drew, and how Jordan sometimes people like, oh, Jordan, you're not really black. It's like, yes, I am.
So I've heard you say that you make books that you wish that you had as a kid. Why is it important that kids today have access to these books?
Because I would love for there to be more kids like you. And can I say I hated to read? Like if you wanted to punish me, it would have been made me read a book as a kid. And I think a lot of that was I never saw myself. You know, like when I saw Into the Spider-Verse a few years ago, like I got more goosebumps than I had in any book I'd ever read as a kid. And then I remember reading the Christopher Paul Curtis, But Not Buddy.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the first time I had seen a Black kid that I was like, wow, like this is a cool kid. So when I went back to the school library, I'd be like, hey, you got any more those books with the little stickers on it? You know, had no idea that it was the Newbery and the Curtis Scott King Author Award. And I realized how much I had missed out on. So if I could do a book for someone like you, so then I try extra hard. So when you get a Jerry Craft book, there's a lot of humor and there's family and you leave feeling good about yourself. And that's kind of what my goal is.
And New Kid is one of those books that helped me when I was at that stage in my childhood where I did not want to pick up a book at all. And it is one of those, you know, comfort reads that you can just go back to when you want something light and easy to read. And just be like, oh yeah, just reread New Kid. That's what I do.
And I hid so much stuff in the background that if you read that and then you read Class Act and then you read New Kid again, you're like, oh, I didn't even notice this in the background. And then the same thing with the new one coming up, School Trip. I bet if you reread them again, there's like, oh, there's this character that I didn't see before, but now I noticed.
This is a graphic novel, right? And something I've heard you say before is, you know, graphic novels are indeed reading.
Yes.
Why is that like such an important point for you?
So that's the thing, right? Because when I was in 7th grade, my teachers used to say that comics would rot our little brains. So they would confiscate them. So at the end of the school year, I think they would have more comics in their desk that they had taken from kids and most kids had at home. But I put the same like character arc and all that stuff, story arc in my graphic novels that I would put in a prose novel. You know, it's not like I cut corners all of a sudden. And when I won the Newbery, it wasn't for the artwork, it was for the writing. Curtis Scott King Author Award was for the writing. And they're not real books. I'm like, what is that about? And then also like, some kids are visual learners. I know as a kid, when I would see a book open up and there's this great, just words after words, I would just shut down.
Graphic novels use a bigger vocabulary than, you know, novels do because, you know, there's less words than in a normal book. And it's like proven that there's more unique and rare words than even in adult books sometimes. So, a graphic novel I'm looking forward to reading is School Trip. Don't know if you've heard of it.
A little bit.
So, I mean, I don't have a copy yet because it's not out yet. But can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, so I did, you know, again, I do the books I wish I had, right? I never saw Black and brown kids travel, and if they did, it was never fun. So this is the long-awaited trip to Paris, France, where Jordan gets to go to the Louvre, and he's got 10 of his friends, so there's 11 of them that go. I'm not gonna tell you who, but Alexandra and her sock puppets will be there, I'm saying, and it's more of an ensemble where you'll get to learn a lot more about so many of the characters that were kind of like the background, but they all step up a little bit and shine. And I love it. I think it's going to be the best one.
Oh my gosh, yes, I'm so excited.
Me too.
Okay, before you go, you have to settle argument between me and my dad.
Okay.
Did you draw Jordan's dad to look like you?
Yes, a little bit.
Oh, okay, he was right,
So you owe him donuts?
Yeah.
I
want to say thank you personally for writing this book, New Kid. It helps me in a time where I needed it. And, you know, just seeing Jordan go through that experience that I went through the same time I was going through it, and it was just such a similar experience that helped me. You know, and it was a graphic novel, so coming back into reading, and look where it has me now, so thank you.
With you, and look where it has me.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and thanks on behalf of all the other kids who read your book and felt seen.
Yes, all right.
It seems to always be rainy in Connecticut, But what an inspiring talk with an amazingly inspiring artist and writer. Speaking of inspiration, if you're struggling to get started writing, I have another one of my little writing prompts for you. Here we go. Think of a time when you were new at something, or in a strange place you've never been. Then describe that moment in great detail. Give us a sense of the setting and how the whole experience affected you emotionally and physically. Bonus points for humor. Can't wait to see what you come up with. Come visit me in the book loft anytime on Ainara's bookshelf.